We've got news, Falcons fans, from Raheem Morris himself. Some of it good, some of it bad, some of it head-scratching. Welcome into Falcons Today by Chat Sports. My name is Moose. I'm going to be your host throughout the 2025 season, and it should be actually a quadruple dose of news because on today's show, I do want to start with this. Darnell Mooney is back at practice for the Dirty Birds. He was spotted there, so that is a good sign that he has returned to practice, but we do have to talk about the Bralen Trice moving to IR. We're going to touch on what that means for the Falcons, the Billy Bowman update, which is actually good news, and then, of course, some other roster updates that you need to know that Raheem Morris kept us informed about. I'll start with this question because this feels like an appropriate time to ask it. How concerned are you about the Atlanta Falcons injuries? Scale of 1 to 10. I had said a couple of weeks ago that I was at about a 5 or a 6. I feel like I'm now at about a 7 or an 8. It just feels like they can't shake the injury bug. I don't know what it is. Let's start with what we know. Orlando Ledbetter came out and said that the Falcons have officially placed Bralen Trice on injured reserve. He will be available to return at some point. The earliest designation is that bye week for the Atlanta Falcons. That's the earliest, but we still don't know if there is a specific date that he could come back. SB Nation pretty much captured exactly what I thought and what you need to know about it. The Falcons have been suffering from an end-of-summer rash, love the way that's phrased, of injuries. One that has seen them lose Kaleb McGary for the season, Storm Norton for 6 to 8 weeks, and Taquan Graham for at least a month. Now we can unfortunately add Bralen Trice to that growing list again. Trice has been recuperating from an injury that cost him his entire rookie season, and now will miss another significant chunk of time, but he is eligible to return at some point this season, but we don't know when that is. Can the Falcons just catch a frickin' break, man? Good Lord. Every time you turn around, 6 to 8 weeks here, season-ending injury here, significant time here. And Bralen Trice missed his entire rookie year with this exact same injury. It's the same knee that's bothering him. So as far as an on-the-field perspective, this 2025 preseason, Trice was not great. He wasn't awful by any means. He was just kind of trying to get back to a player that he once was when he was playing for the University of Washington, working through the injuries, trying to get his body right. And clearly right now, it just seems like Trice is a player that's going to be fighting injuries for a significant time of his career. Now, I will say this, because the question definitely needs to be asked by Falcons fans. How long is the leash for Bralen Trice? With the additions of JPJ and Jalen Walker, it has to be short. Like, I think there's a lot of people out there that would say if you can't get out onto the field, you're replaceable. Now, I take no pleasure in saying that about a player that's fighting injuries because it's not his fault. But what I will say is the Falcons' edge room is now poised to be better than it ever has. There is no more room for, well, we want to wait and see how this player ends up developing because now we'll have a year and a half, essentially, of no Bralen Trice. That's at the earliest. So the question just has to kind of formulate and just sit there in the front of your mind, which is, how long is that leash? And another question that I think is fair to ask, is it time to give up on Bralen Trice? Yes or no? Is there a possibility that the Falcons look at this and say we can try to get any sort of trade value that we currently can get out of him because the upside is still there? Do we ship him off for, a later round draft pick? Who knows? Who knows? That's why I'm asking the question. You get down to the comment section down below and you tell me. Let's move on to some more positive news. How about a smile on that face? Not to sound like the Joker, but I will say this. Our friends at Prize Picks definitely have you covered on today's episode. Remember, my friends, Prize Picks is the best place to win real money sports action all football season long. Here's all you have to do. Go to your app store right now, click that download button, and just like that, you can start winning real money on all of your sports bets. Football season's here, and you know what to do. Pick the players that are going off. That's all you have to do. Less than 60 seconds is all it takes to turn your sports opinions into real money all season long with Prize Picks. It's very simple to play. Just pick 2 to 6 players on their stat projections. If you get your picks right, you could cash in and win up to 2,000 times your money. It is the best place to win real cash while watching sports. So what you do is you go to your app store, you click the download button, and you use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. It kind of looks like this. It's a very easy way to get in and started with the action. Pick the player, the more or less, send it in, and watch your winnings start to multiply. Download the Prize Picks app. Use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Code CLNS. I'll have all of that in the comments and description of today's video for you. Prize Picks. Run your game. Okay, let's move on to some more positive news. Like I said, Mark Grimaldi came in and said what all Falcons fans definitely wanted to hear at that nickel cornerback position. You can consider Billy Bowman the starter at nickel corner. And I think that's great because D. Alford just wasn't cutting it. I know there were a lot of fans that had said, why didn't we cut this guy? I didn't want to go that far. I do think he deserved a roster spot, but he definitely does not deserve to start. He gets cooked way too quick. He cannot mirror routes well. He's not sticky in coverage. Every so often, he'll lay a nice hit down, but that's few and far between. And where Billy Bowman excels, where his excellence shines, is a clear and unbelievable amount of versatility at the position because he played safety in college. He's got speed and quickness that you can look for at that position. And he's instinctive with great anticipation at the position. He does lack a little bit of size and frame, but you can always add on weight and muscle. He does need to prioritize finishing tackles in open space because he's not necessarily that third little bad there, is that solo stopper. But when you tell me that I'm going to get a guy who played safety who can have that coverage skill that you want, someone that can identify a route and stick with it without getting beat over the top because of that ability to play at the safety position, I think it was writing on the wall for D. Alford. I really do. And let's be honest. Even though he had 11 PBUs last year, his performance just wasn't good enough. The coaches saw that. The fans saw that. I saw that. I mean, when you get absolutely dunked on by Isaac Tesla in that first game on a very, very easy zone coverage out route where basically Tesla just beat him off to the outside, giggity, and then went into the end zone on a little fade route where Alford just kind of got pushed around off the line of scrimmage. I saw it right then and there. I'm like, against these bigger wide receivers and tight ends, Alford can't do it. So this is very, very good news. Now, at some point, if Bowman's not, up to expectations, do you put D. Alford back in? It's a possibility. But then I think you have a bigger problem on your hands, and that is maybe you have to start looking for a specific nickel corner, or you have to wait a little bit longer for Bowman to develop. But right now, this is good news. Some final roster updates that I want to keep you aware of because there are some other things that you need to know. Let's start, of course, with the offensive line. And I think this was an important and interesting little addition here from Mark Grimaldi. Elijah Wilkinson, Brandon Parker, and Jack Nelson will be competing for that right tackle position for right now. And out of all of the possible combinations that you could have here for that right tackle position, I think Elijah Wilkinson is definitely going to get it. Now, look, I could look at this and I could say, sure, you could put in Jarrell, and maybe Matthew Bergeron could slide over to that right tackle position. That's something that Raheem Morris himself had said was a possibility. I don't think Jack Nelson's ready, and we'll talk about him in just a second, but I think it's going to be Elijah Wilkinson. You've got to have someone that you at least trust to get in there. Now, Raheem Morris came out and said that he feels really good about the state of the offensive line. I don't quite believe that. I'm not saying the offensive line is going to be bad, but without Kaleb McGary there protecting MPJ's blind side, there is clearly a hole and a question mark at that right tackle position. So Jack Nelson, to me, is not ready yet. He needs a lot more reps. But in time, if he shows the ability to get it done at that position, then sure. Do you throw him in as a rotational player, maybe even start him for a game? It's an entire possibility. Let's move back over to the defense. Xavier Watts, he got the nod as that starting safety alongside Jesse Bates, which I think is a really good and smart decision here from Raheem Morris. Now, they only kept 3 safeties, which I think is very telling. But Xavier Watts, from an on-the-field perspective, at least according to PFF, was pretty good. 5 tackles. His coverage grade was a little bit lower, but that's okay. That's going to come with reps and experience. His tackle grade was incredibly high, almost an 80 PFF grade. And his run-stopping grade was also right in the middle of the pack. And Raheem Morris said it perfectly. He's earned the spot. But keeping 3 safeties, to me, is indicative of a strong trust in the safety room. They believe they don't need to go with more than 3. Jesse Bates, Xavier Watts, DeMarco Hellams, in order to have a strong feel for what those 3 guys can bring to the table. That's why they ended up keeping 7 corners. They clearly feel like that's the area that is going to be a bigger question mark than the safety room, which I have told you is one of the tops in the NFL. So I'm very, very excited to see what Xavier Watts can do starting alongside Jesse Bates. One more little thing that you need to know is that your primary returner has been named. It is Jamal Agnew. I'm okay with this as well, as long as, he starts to perform well in practice, especially in the special teams unit. But let's be honest, I got a good feeling that that's another reason why they kept 7 wide receivers, is because they can add a couple more of that special teams ability, especially from the likes of Agnew. All right, let's ask it. Are you concerned about the Falcons' Week 1 opener? Confident or worried? Let me know what you think in the comment section. If I could be right in the middle, I would. I don't know that I can say that I'm confident at this point, considering, 1, the injuries, 2, the lack of starters playing in the preseason. But I don't want to go as far as to say as I'm worried about it, because I still do trust Raheem Morris to deliver us factual and anecdotal evidence from what he's seeing at practice. So I don't think he's lying by any means, but I feel like there's times where he just wants to keep the peace and keep the calm, and that's not necessarily what I'm looking for. Outside of that, we're going to come back to you with more and more updates surrounding the Dirty Birds, so make sure you hit that subscribe button, like the video, and as always, Falcons fans, rise up and be cool.